Yo, stuck in Toronto traffic, I'm feeling like a captive. Everywhere I go, it's an hour away from Toronto. Relax got me paranoid, it's a traffic convoy, but I keep my cool, blasting tunes with joy. In the 6, it's a concrete jungle, mad lane merging, horns blaring, it's a crazy plan. Nah, I ain't mad, I'm making the best of it. Tuning in to ASKaTrafficCop podcast legit. Toronto traffic, yeah, it's the same old song, but we keep it moving. We stay strong, from Scarborough to Mississauga. It's a wild ride in the 6. Traffic is an art, we take it in stride. Yeah.
In the heart of the city, it's a crazy scene. Gridlock traffic can't escape the routine. Every road I take, it's a long-ass wait. But I won't lose my mind, no, I won't take the bait. Oh, oh, oh. Toronto traffic, you're a beast of the road. Oh, 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 oh. But I'll keep on moving. Let the rhythm unfold with the speakers on blast. I'm in my zone, listening to the podcast. Gonna conquer the unknown. Toronto traffic, you're a wild ride, but we'll make it through side by side. From east to west, north to south, everywhere's an hour away, there's no doubt. Oh, oh, oh. Toronto traffic, you're a beast of the road. Oh, 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 oh. But I'll keep on moving. Let the rhythm unfold with the speakers on blast. I'm in my zone, listening to the podcast. Gonna conquer the unknown. Toronto traffic, you're a wild ride, but we'll make it through side by side. From east to west, north to south, everywhere's an hour away, there's no doubt. Sitting in my car, stuck in traffic's embrace, headed downtown, but I'm going no place, no place. Engines humming, horns blaring my ears. Oh, Toronto traffic, bringing me to tears. Everything's an hour away, can't seem to catch a break. From the diner to the DVP, it's a never-ending snake. Radio's playing.
Okay, I'll put you guys out of your misery. If you're enjoying the music, I'm making it available all public on Suno on the channel. But it's fun stuff. If you want to check it out, there's a free account. You can totally play with that. And like many of the people that have become addicted to it that I know, I'm getting songs sent to me all day, all night by text. It's a lot of entertainment. It's very cool technology, and I happen to be I'm experimenting with this whole AI business, and you can do PowerPoint presentations created by a ChatGPT prompt now. It is truly scary. our jobs are all at risk. What can I say? I hope you're having a great day. Happy Thursday. My name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service, and I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff just about every day. No, it is every day. I talk about it incessantly. Yeah. But this is the Ask a Traffic Cop show. I talk about what you want to talk about. So ask questions. If you're watching us, you might be on one of many different platforms because we're streaming to a whole bunch of them, like right now. Look up here. TikTok, YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Kick, and of course, X, which is formerly known as Twitter, the name I actually prefer. And if you can't stick around, know that you can download these on the platforms above Apple Podcasts, iHeart Podcasts, Spotify, and a whole bunch of other ones. Search for Ask a Traffic Cop. You can also get TPS Traffic Jam. That's the one where we sit around and talk to other people who know stuff, that share stuff with me so you can learn stuff too. We have a bunch of episodes there. Haven't published a new one recently, but there's a bunch of them in the pipe being, edited by me when I have time, which is not a lot recently. If you want to catch up, there's hours and hours, but you can also go to YouTube at youtube.trafficcop.ca. In fact, visiting trafficcop.ca will give you access to all of our social media. There's a lot of stuff that we have there as well as useful links. So you can get some helpful stuff and things if you go there. Yeah, it's a thing. I want to talk to you quickly about Vision Zero Enforcement Team. They are a dedicated group of officers who, they do magical stuff. They change driver behavior. Despite many people saying that tickets don't change driver behavior, I disagree. Worked for me when I was a kid, and it certainly works for many people that I know, many of whom got tickets from me and haven't had tickets since. In any case, the big four is what they're focused on. They're looking for people who choose to speed, drive aggressively, drive distracted, and drive impaired. Why those? Well, those are the big four because they're the ones that most often lead to serious injury and death on our roads. And we're kind of interested in stopping that, making sure people go home to their families, that your loved ones aren't injured, that the communities don't get hurt, because it's more than just you, the driver who gets a ticket. It's the communities that you impact when you impact. And that happens a lot. We had 45 deaths in the city of Toronto related to traffic collisions last year. 29 of those were pedestrians. Guess what? They were all avoidable. Yes, they were. They were all avoidable. Driver behavior changed the outcome. It could have been some pedestrian behavior too, but at the end of the day, it's behavior. It's people making good or bad decisions that determine the outcome of situations. It's kind of circular. But what I'm trying to say is, if you act safely, safe things usually the outcome. If you aren't safe, high risk and bad things happen. Today is April 11th. The Toronto Police Division Zero Enforcement Officers are focused on Division 0 and 52 Division and 42 Division. Those are neighborhoods like Kensington, Chinatown, Bay Street Corridor, Malvern, Agincourt, Milliken, Rouge, Scarborough, neighborhoods where real people live, work, and play and deserve to be safe. And you want to know where they are every single day? Well, then you should be following us on Twitter, X, Instagram, and Facebook. Follow us everywhere. But that's where we post these wonderful updates every morning and let you know where they are. Why do we tell people where we are? That's the big question. Everyone says, why are you telling people? Because if you tell them, they'll know, and then you won't catch them. Well, here's one thing. We're not in it to make money. We're in it to change behavior. And if you know ahead of time that we're going to be there, maybe you slow down, but really the message is for the people who live in those neighborhoods. That's who needs to know that we're there protecting them. Now, while the Vision Zero Enforcement Team do focus their efforts, and they are they're a dedicated team to enforcement. They don't do anything else. Other police officers who do many things. They wear many hats. They respond to calls. If they see something, they will likely stop you and educate you by way of a ticket too. I call it education through enforcement. Anyway, let's get on with stuff and things. Throw your comments into the question box and stuff, and we'll get into it. Now, Paul was the first one in before the show even started. Paul says, good morning, Sean. Hello, all. An unnamed TikToker says hi, but we see their face right there. Neha says, good morning. Max Should says, hi, boss. We got greetings and salutations from the one and only Draconis, Akela Draconis. Josh says, good morning from Edmonton. Welcome back to all the regulars. And we do have a lot of regulars. I got the wrong date in the title, really? It's the 11th. It's that maybe it didn't update. We did have some issues with YouTube last night when we tried to schedule it. So maybe it's got the wrong one, or maybe the title. Did the graphic have the wrong title? No. Did it really? March 11th. Yes, we have the wrong thing. And on screen for like 5 minutes, it was wrong. Thanks. I was just talking about how long it's been since I made an error. Well, there we go. Fun. Okay, we got a dad joke. We're all human here. We make mistakes once in a while. I got a joke about an eagle. Okay, I like that. We're going to deal with that later. LJ says, good morning, Sean. Was very confused at the banner on YouTube says March 11th. Thank you for ignoring the incorrect date. It is the 11th, though. It's half right. Or, yeah, you know. Let's see here. Josh, Neha's got a day off work. Cool. Suno be doing work on these intros. Let's go. Day shift rotation. Okay. Can a turning lane be used to merge into traffic? So are we talking about there's a center multi-purpose lane that is used where cars can basically wait to make a left turn. It's a turning lane when they're coming off the road. Can people turn onto the road there? So we've had this discussion. I think it's very often the safest way to play. If traffic's moving quickly and there's an opportunity to make a left turn, then that center lane becomes a great place to merge. Is by letter of the law that an appropriate use of that lane? Possibly not. But I've never had an issue, and I don't think it's an unreasonable use. Could you receive a ticket? Anything's possible. Is it reasonable, and do I think you'd be convicted in court? No. And I wouldn't write that ticket, so... but we were talking to Sergeant Campbell, and he was saying, maybe it's not the appropriate place to be. So it's a lot of this stuff is interpretation, and that one is up for interpretation. Tian says, good morning, everyone. And just a reminder to everybody, please use letter Q to determine or to signify a question, to signal me so I know to look at it as opposed to me trying to scroll past all the general conversation amongst everybody else. Neha really likes the Toronto traffic. Everything's an hour away. I've been saying that for years, and I thought, you know what? Let's turn it into a Suno song that Toronto's everything away. Toronto's an hour away from Toronto. And I'm going to play with that for my entire evening when I get home, making songs about Toronto's an hour away from Toronto. How old must a rider be to be a passenger on a motorcycle? Well, oddly enough, there was an intention to make a law that had a specific age requirement, but that never got royal assent. It never actually came to be. The rules are this. You must be able to touch the pegs. Passenger pegs must be, your feet must be resting on them. So if you have a smaller passenger, regardless of their age, if they can touch the pegs, they're good. Now, I will say this. There are aftermarket pegs that raise the pegs. They either have a step up or an option so that you can make contact. I guess tall boots would also be a way to do it, but contact. But there's more to it than just being legal. You want a passenger to be a safe passenger. So if you have a sissy bar or a pillion pad with a backrest, that's one step because you want to make sure they don't get left behind. I used to ride with a young lady many moons ago who, when I had no sissy bar on the back, was so comfortable that she'd take a nap. And I was very concerned about losing that person off the back. And we have seen collisions where passengers fall off. So young passengers who aren't ready or aren't paying attention or, doing the hands up business and having way too much fun could be in a bad position. So pick your passengers properly. All right. I got a quote there. Oh, everything just refreshed. Oh, scrolling back. Oh, but my tag did work. Okay. Stay safe. Okay, got that. Good question from JT. And we were talking about cell phone stuff this morning with a prosecutor. We were talking to the prosecutors. Hi, prosecutors, if you're watching. Actually, I don't think they're watching because they're still speaking in the next room. In any case, JT says, is the consequence, I'm going to update automatically live editing here. Is the consequence the same for just holding a phone while driving as it is for using while driving? Yes, because the courts have determined and upheld that holding is using. So if you're holding it, even if the battery was dead, you're holding it, you're using it. Doesn't have to be actively, swiping on the screen. Although whenever I've given evidence about it, I've given what I've seen, which is actively, swiping finger across a lit screen because that's what I've seen. But is holding it using it? Yeah, it is. And this is not hands-free, folks. I see way too many people having full-on conversations, and I nearly got out of my car yesterday to speak to somebody who is driving in stop-and-go traffic full on the phone because, it's speakerphone. It's hands-free. No, it's not. Hands-free means your hands are not touching your phone. In fact, your lap, just having your phone in your lap, has been determined to be use, upheld by courts. Convictions levied. Registered. Boom. Good morning from Julie. Good morning from Richard. Good morning from Australia. Joel in Australia. You are today, at least at this point in the show, the farthest person away watching the show. Good on you. This is normally where I break into all of my Australian slang, and people are like, what kind of slang? Well, for instance, they don't call gum in Australia. No, it's chewy. At least it was when I was there a number of years ago visiting family. I had a lot of fun in Australia. I love Australia. I want to come back, but the very, very long drive is holding me from doing so. Yeah. Sweaters or jumpers? Yeah, come on. Sport utilities or sport utes? There's so many cool things they say. Anyway, let's see here. Dre's back. Dre says, hey, man, how are you this morning? I'm doing good. I'm in a good mood, I'm usually in a good mood. Although I will say that my sleep was interrupted last night. I kept waking up thinking it was time to go to work, and it wasn't. So I'd get into the washroom to brush my teeth. I'd look at my watch, and it's like midnight. 2 a.m. And it wasn't because there was nothing happening. I was excited to come back here and talk to you. That's what it was. Let's see here. Can you also be arrested for using such a device to black out your plate in Ontario? Blue. Are you talking about confusing the identity of your plate? Because that is an arrestable offense. But if you're talking about a blackout cover that just makes it, it's not confusing your identity. It's failing to display. It's a different charge. So I would say you wouldn't be arrestable at that point. If you're totally blocking it, you are not confusing the identity. You're preventing the plate from being seen at all. And it's probably a lesser offense, but it's still not smart or respectable or honorable or a whole bunch of other words that mean the same thing, essentially. What do we got here? Emma was answering about motorcycle stuff. Good on you. We have conversation, lots of conversations. Scrolling down, Chris says, thank you for answering. Well, it's my pleasure. That's what I do here. This is a show for you. And the more you ask, the better it gets, because it's all about questions and answers. It's a Q&A. User with lots of numbers in their name says, good morning. Good morning to you. Neha's got a dad joke. Okay, it's flagged for later. Stephen, hey, Stephen, what's going on, brother? Long time no talk. Stephen says, hey, Sean, I was ticketed at St. Joseph's Hospital, whose parking payment structure is outsourced by Pay for Parking out of BC. If unpaid, does it impact renewal of your driver's license, and can they truly take you to collections if unpaid? Sidebar, why the hell do you have to pay when going to a hospital? Okay. Here's the deal, and thank you, Stephen, for jumping into the live. We'll have to connect for coffee, but that's another story. The deal with tickets issued by private companies, I'm assuming, based on what you've told me, that it is in fact a private property only ticket, meaning it's issued by a private company on behalf of the hospital. It is entirely outside of the chain of renewals and whatnot. But if it talks about the fact that they'll take you to collections, that is a legitimate concern. They could take you to collections. Now, there's no other enforcement. If it says, however, that it's written on behalf of the City of Toronto, we do train third-party companies to issue parking tickets on behalf of the city. They're, I can't remember the acronym or what they are, but they are municipal. They're qualified to write tickets on behalf of the city, and those do impact your ability to renew your license. So it depends. Read the ticket. If it says City of Toronto on there, if it's all about getting a court date, or if it's one of those things that says just send us payment, we'll be cool, you can easily identify one from the other. If you have questions, however, you could either attend a police station, call parking enforcement, or But if it says hospital on the ticket, I'm going to assume it's not a city ticket. All right. A reminder to please use letter Q, so I know it's a question for me and not just dialogue amongst others. And Umar actually did exactly that. They put Q. Is green P parking free for motorcycles? What about green P parking lots? Unless things have changed and somehow that I missed it, I don't think that's the case. Green P parking, street parking, is still free for motorcycles in the City of Toronto. However, green P parking lots, not on the street, are not free for motorcycles, and that's a big problem because people get confused. So I'm glad that you brought this up. And you know what we should also do is invite Erin to come back on the show. Erin Urquhart, TPS_Bikehart on all social media platforms. She is the parking guru, and I made her a song on Suno saying just that. But you can ask her all these questions. She really is the best source of information when it comes to parking stuff. Northern Pike says, hello, Sean and everyone, with a thumbs up. Jen says, good morning. Okay. Kobe says, someone just stole my Lexus off my driveway and you guys are on TikTok. LOL. Yeah, we're on TikTok educating people about all sorts of stuff. We are the Traffic Safety Programs Unit. Or are we the unit? What's Traffic Services is the unit. We're a sub-unit of Traffic Safety Programs. I am the education guy and social media person who talks about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff. If I wasn't here, I would not be at your house dealing with your stolen vehicle. I don't go on the road. I was injured in a motorcycle collision, so I'm no longer a road person. I'm an office person. But I can talk to you about ways to prevent theft, which you probably don't want to hear about right now because you're dealing with a stolen vehicle, which I'm sorry about. This is a major problem that is affecting all of North America, if not the world. So, yeah, I imagine you've called the police and you're waiting for someone to respond. And I'm sure they'll be there as soon as they can. And Sanella Amira says, good morning from Canada. I'm in Canada too. Isn't that a funky thing? Where in Canada are you from? Let's learn more. Where is everybody from? We have one viewer who's from Australia, currently watching in a different time zone. Where is everybody else from? Anybody in New Zealand? We're talking about different places that are far away. We have viewers who often come in from Germany there was a bunch of coppers who watched us from where? From Finland, I think it was. Anyway, what is this? We have, hey bro, I have an assault with weapon charge and failed to miss undertaking. What should I do? Call the investigating officer, maybe call a lawyer first, but you definitely want to deal with that. If you have messed up, you may have a warrant. You may have some issues coming your way, and it's better to get ahead of that, not wait until you get arrested. So call your lawyer or call your defender or call the officer investigating who was involved with the case and get it resolved. It's better to be on the I'm trying to fix what I screwed up side of things. Radek says, good morning, and good morning to you. Here we go. Can I keep my phone on top of the radio thing display if it fits perfectly there for navigation? Here's the deal when it kind of fits and it's just held by gravity, is it has a tendency of flailing or falling out and becoming a projectile. One that could hurt you, but more importantly, when it falls out, you go, oh my God, and you try and grab it, and that's when bad things happen. You start paying attention to the falling phone instead of focusing on the drive because it's a big distractor. My suggestion, and what the law says, is mount it properly. It has to be mounted for you to use it as a GPS, and then you're good. But just don't do what my dad did. He put a suction cup on the center of the nav, like it was a Mercedes SUV, and he put a suction cup on the center of the nav. Guess what happened? He tightened the suction cup, and he destroyed the LCD. I mean, listen, the LCD on the nav stunk. It was terrible. The navigation was out of date. The phone was better. Otherwise, he wouldn't have put the mount there. But that's the worst thing you could do. So don't do what my dad did. It ruined the stereo. Trailering questions. You need to have trailer's ownership with you if it's not owned by you. You have to have, whenever you have a vehicle and it's got ownership, you got to carry it with you. You need to be able to surrender that. Absolutely. Oh, Kobe's still having an issue. He doesn't like the fact that I mentioned that my, words out of the Australian vernacular that I like. So I should also mention that we talked about jumpers, sport, uni instead of university. It's very practical there. I like it. Very short nicknames for everything. Not sure what to think on X. First comment from X today, I think. So a reminder that X never used to be able to communicate with us, and now we can, obviously, with this fine example. So regardless of which platform you're on, except for Instagram, which I had to look over here to see who's watching. Instagram, I have to watch in a separate window, and I frankly don't pay attention as much. There's very few people who use that app. Why does Instagram exist? I don't know why. We're on the good app. Everyone else is on the good app. And everybody who's not on everything other than Instagram, just TrafficCop.ca, you can get to all of our social media. YouTube.TrafficCop.ca will take you right to our YouTube page, and you can jump in the show from there, especially if I'm ignoring you. I do feel bad that I ignore Instagram. It's way over there. All right. So, good morning. See a lot of people turning right from the second lane from the curb. Is this allowed? Okay, here's the deal with turning right from the second lane. If there are two turn lanes, then you can make right turns from the lane other than the curb lane. If it's not a dedicated or permissible turn lane, then you can't. And the best example, and the one I always refer to, is when you get off the 401 at Leslie Street, there are, in fact, two right turn lanes. And both of those can make right turns, and both of them can make right turns on red lights. The condition is it must be a right turn on red when safe to do so after having come to a complete stop and ensuring that it's safe to proceed. And when you complete that turn, you must turn into the appropriate lane. So curb lane to curb lane, the one to the left of the curb lane, into the one to the left of the curb lane. Thick as, yeah, makes sense? Clear as mud? That's what I was thinking, not thick as mud. That would not make sense at all. Anyway, is that what you're talking about? But if it's a center through lane and they're making a right turn from that lane, that is illegal. That is an improper turn. All right. Radek wants to know, if you're pulling over a vehicle with dealer plates, is it difficult to check if the vehicle is listed in the sales catalog? So it has to be in the, you said sales catalog, and you've stolen the verbiage out of my mind. I've got a block now, but it must be registered to them. It must be in their fleet, or as you say, sales catalog. There's another word I'm looking for that I can't find right now, but it has to be available for sale. It can't be just a personally owned or an owned vehicle for the dealership. It has to be in the inventory. That's the word I was looking for. How do we find that out? We investigate. Charges don't have to be laid at the side of the road. They can be charged later. Up to 6 months for most charges. When it comes to charges like insurance, 3 years. We can lay charges 3 years after the incident. We got here tint requirement in Ontario from DJ Randy, and the deal is this: there's two separate and competing. Anyway, we have the standards for issuing a safety certificate. If you have more than 30% light blockage, your vehicle is not safe and cannot be certified. Thus, if you have more than 30% light blockage, your vehicle is unsafe. We're going to take your plates and send you for certification. Mechanics have a tint meter, and they are required to check your tint before issuing a safety certificate. If they issue it without, guess what? We are going to come by and investigate them and maybe pull their license. They won't be able to certify vehicles anymore, and that kind of messes with their business. And we take this very seriously. So, front windshield, zero tint unless you have a vehicle manufactured before 2017. Then you can have a 3-inch tint strip that is 3 inches from the top of the windshield down or to the AS1 line, whatever happens first. That's your tint strip, 2016 or older. 2017, newer, nothing on the front windshield, but you can have up to 30% light blockage on the windows left and right of the driver. And here's where I say competing issues. There are Highway Traffic Act laws that prevent you from having or will make you eligible for a ticket if we can't see you. If you are obscuring the interior of your motor vehicle with a color or reflective tint, and I am talking about the windows directly left and right of the driver or the windshield, if I can't see you as the driver, if I can't clearly identify male, female, person, facial description, like if I can't see you, you're getting a ticket. You could pass the safety requirement of the vehicle being on the road, but I'm still going to give you a ticket for the other offense of obscuring the driver's view. You can also get a ticket for having the driver's view obstructed, not being able to see out properly. And these are more driver or at least police officer opinion based on what they're observing. So let's say during the day, we wouldn't write you the ticket. We can clearly see you. But at nighttime, we can't. Guess what? At nighttime, your ticket is eligible, or you're eligible for the ticket. I like to use the following as a good test. Take your driver's license or a business card or a credit card. Put it behind your tint. If you can read it through your tint, it's probably okay. If you can't, you're not legal. All right, moving on. Stephen Bell says, hi, good morning. Just got up. Lucky you, sleeping until 10:17. I was up again all through the night, but I usually get up at 4 a.m. anyway. Timothy says, can we still pass a yellow light? Well, some context is required there. Do you mean a yellow light that is the light before red? Can you cross through an intersection on yellow? Well, let's look at what yellow means. We know that green means go and red means stop, but yellow is usually confusing. I don't know why, but it seems to be. Yellow does not mean slow down. It does not mean go faster. It means stop. And this is where people get, huh? What do you mean yellow means stop? Yellow means stop unless it's unsafe to do so. So if you got that yellow just before crossing the line, you'd already hit the point of no return, obviously you would not be safely able to stop. You would probably cause a collision or have to lock up your brakes and slide into the intersection. That's not what we want. So that would be unsafe for you to try and stop. And that's one of the situations where you can continue through. But if you're approaching at a green and you're doing the speed limit and can properly respond to the change of the light, you should be making every effort to stop. And if a police officer watches you doing it and makes the determination that you should have stopped, but you choose not to, well, then you're going to get a ticket for failing to stop for an amber signal. And that has a lower cost than a red light, but still effectively a red light ticket. So I hope that answers your question. If that was not at all what you were asking, please rephrase and ask again. All right. What do we got here? Nia hates her autocorrect. What is this? Stephen says hello to my daughter. So Stephen was with the magical and the show I miss terribly, which is Dave's Corner Garage. And of course, I used to regularly appear on the show. And once I brought my daughter with, so Stephen hung out with my kiddo while we were doing the radio show. She was coloring, and of course, made an impression, which she always does. Okay. What is Josh talking about? Josh is talking to somebody else. Linda says, good morning, my hero. Thank you for helping everyone. Love our heroes. Linda is a big fan of law enforcement and first responders and always takes the time to thank us. Thank you so much for that. Let's see here. Kenny F. says, I parked in front of my house on the street by the curb and got a ticket for 3 hours plus. Why? Well, Kenny, because in the city of Toronto, there is a rule that you cannot park on the street for more than 3 hours. Simple as that. It doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter if it's your house or somebody else's house. Unless you have a permit to be on that street, you cannot be on the street for more than 3 hours. However, if you are someone who has an accessibility pass, a wheelchair pass, as many people refer to it, you are able to park longer. Yeah. So sorry, but the ticket was valid. Okay. Why do we have active 30-kilometer-an-hour speed cameras by schools that are still active on weekends? Because the speed limit on those streets is 30 kilometers an hour, whether school is in or not. It's not a school camera, it's a speed camera, and it's always on. Now, there are areas that have a conditional speed zone, but I don't believe that there's any cameras in those particular areas. If there are conditional speeds, like on weekends, the speed limit changes magically, or the sign says that it's only when flashing, well, then you'd have a defense, wouldn't you? Okay. Is factory-matched tint legal in Canada? Factory-matched tint? You have to tell me what that is, because I don't know what that is. It is about how much light is being restricted. That is, it's not a matter who installed it. Yeah. So I need more information to be able to answer you. Oh, we got a viewer in Montreal. What's going on? I would break into French if I spoke French. I could kick a bonjour your way, but I just didn't do well in French. Brampton, what's up? Okay, we got Richmond Hill with Northern Pike. Let's see here. Mississauga is where Neha is, the farthest end of it. Kayla's in London, Ontario. Jen is in Toronto, right here. What's going on? Canuck Canoe Catfishing is in Windsor, Ontario. Welcome back. Good to see you. We've got, a question from N54 Mikey. Good morning. Is yellow fog lights illegal? No, they're not. In fact, yellow headlights are legal. The two colors you're permitted legally to project from the front of your vehicle are yellow and white. Now, you see some people put in lights that they say are white, but they're so high on the spectrum, they're actually showing blue or purple. Those are not legal. But yellow is totally perfect. Perfectly perfect. How many people can you have in the car with a G2? It depends. Depends on how old you are, how old your passengers are. It depends on what time of the day it is. And then it also depends on how many seats with seat belts there are in the vehicle. So if you are, let me pull it up. Let me pull it up, and I'll read for you right from the business here. And that's going to be G2. And the G2, you can get charged for having more passengers than seatbelts. We knew that, but I was going to get to that. But what I was looking for is the under 6 months. So the holder of a Class G2 driver's license may have a Class G2 motor vehicle on a highway subject to the following conditions. Between the hours of midnight and 5 a.m., there must not be more than one passenger in the motor vehicle who is under the age of 20, other than a person who is a member of the novice driver's immediate family. Yeah. Now that is in the first 6 months. In the second 6 months, that it goes up to 3 people. But again, you cannot have more at any time people than you have in that you have seats for with seatbelts. And it's not legal for anyone to do it, but there's an additional charge for a G2 driver. All right. Hope that helps. We're moving on. Josh is reminding everybody. Josh is an unofficial producer. Thanks for your input and assistance. Just a reminder to put a Q in front of your question so I know it's a question for me and not dialogue amongst others. Road name Casper says, if you have a cell phone in your passenger seat with Google Maps on it for directions, is that illegal? Well, technically it should be mounted, it should be secured, and only then should the screen be visible to the driver. And aside from everything else, let's just logic it for a second. If you're looking at a map and that means you're taking your eyes off the road and staring at the seat beside you, you're not looking at the road. And if you're trying to locate the screen, focus on important information, and gather data from it, you could be traveling football fields in distance whilst not looking at the road. So not a good idea. And I would frankly charge you for it. And because you're not doing the right thing, you're carelessly driving. Even if I didn't charge you for cell phone, if I didn't think it was appropriate to charge you for the cell phone charge, because I think that would confuse the courts if I charged you with that, I would definitely charge you with careless, because that's not a good way to go. All right. And then Josh jumps in and says, yeah, you have to be able to mount it. Thanks for backing me up. Let's see. Instagram is looking at memes and sending them to your friends. Are you saying that's what the platform is for? That's Niha who's posted that. I just noticed, because I happened to look at Instagram when you said Instagram. Excuse me. At what point during a red light do you get a red light camera ticket? If you enter the intersection after the red light is red, which is only when it's red when it's red. Yeah. So if it changes from yellow to red and it's red prior to crossing the line, entering the intersection, you have crossed the line on a red light. You've entered the intersection. You are guilty. You get a ticket. Ticket for you, ticket for you, ticket for you. Yeah. We have here what we got. Excuse me again. Okay, cool. So not sure what to think. Agree. Says exactly what I thought. Thank you. You're very welcome. Oh, Farty Marty says, I got my G test today. Any tips? First of all, good luck. Awesome. I love it when I hear people are moving on with their licensing experience, their journey, as it were. You're about to venture into the world of lower insurance and not needing to do any more testing, which is great. Although I will say this, take advanced driver's courses when you can, because the more training you get, the better you will be. But tips I have, yes, rest, don't stress, eat, but don't eat too much. Use the washroom beforehand so you don't have any distractions, because the I gotta pee vibe really, really sucks when you're distracted and you gotta drive. But just know, like, you're going for your G. You've been driving for a while. Like, you got this. Just do it. And verbalize what you're doing. You're gonna have a person in your passenger seat. Tell them what you're doing, just because sometimes they're focused on their own little world. And if you say, hey, I'm coming up to speed, I'm looking at the cars I'm about to merge with, I'm signaling because I want to, you just say what you're doing. Make it really, really obvious. It helps also remind you of stuff. Chris Pena says, how can I ask a question? You just did. Sorry, that's my favorite thing to do. Okay, good morning. How's are you, Cowboy CA or Cowboy Ka? All right. No audio, no audio, no audio. Let me know if it's back. It's the sonic eclipse. Let me know if we're back. Peter, or Pete, I see that you still no audio? Hang on. I love technical problems. Let me know if it's back. It appears to be back. Okay, cool. Crisis resolved. We moving on. So how's are you? I'm doing well. Apparently you have tremendous power. Be careful, cowboy. Because I'm blaming you for the power failure. All right. Moving along. X-Truth. Hey, I wanted to know, how do I become an OPP officer? I'm currently in criminology in university. Well, I am not with the OPP. I'm with the Toronto Police. And I'm going to now tell you how to join our service because we're more awesome than everybody else. Okay, we're the same as everybody else. No, we're not. We're better. I obviously I am biased, and I have to tell you that the Toronto Police is the best place to work and play, and you should consider joining us instead. But let's talk about it. If you'd like to consider a job in law enforcement, obviously research the agency you are trying to apply to, and if it is going to be the OPP, check out their website. Also, contact an OPP recruiter. But if you are interested in joining the Toronto Police, go to www.tps.ca/careers because that's what we talk about here. Okay, I'm going to switch back to the proper background. Very nice. I had today's thingamabobber up there. Okay, we're currently hiring for police constable and special constable. Parking enforcement is an option, but I don't believe they're currently taking applications for that. Communications operators are currently being hired. I don't know when the next class is for auxiliary officer, but then there's civilian roles. And I know you talked about police constable, but my favorite thing to do is look at the jobs that are available for civilians because not everybody wants to be in uniform. Let's talk about this. Help desk analyst. Ooh. You can get $84,000 to $93,000, or actually almost $94,000. Why not round it up for $5? Okay, $84,200 to $93,900. Yeah, this looks like a good job. Come fix my computer problems. That's what I need. We need help with what I do. Okay, so there's manager talent acquisition, special constable, senior programmer. Yippee is a youth program. You still get paid to come out and do stuff and things. Senior analyst, capital projects, workplace investigator, equity, inclusion, and human rights. Analyst, research and evaluation, communications operator, and a developer in the digital team. Those are good jobs that don't involve wearing a uniform. I don't think, except special constable. That is a uniform position. I used to be a special constable. I used to be a court officer. And now there are more jobs under that umbrella. But let's look at your police constable questions. How do you join? Well, obviously applying is the first thing, but you do have to meet certain requirements. Be a Canadian citizen or permanent resident status person, 18 or older, physically and mentally able to perform the duties of the position, having regard to your own safety and the safety of members of the public, successfully complete at least 4 years of secondary school education or its equivalent. Let's see here. Good moral character and habits, meaning you are an individual that others view as being trustworthy and having integrity. Let's see here. In addition, no criminal convictions for which a pardon has not been granted. Have a driver's license with no more than 6 points accumulated. You have to be able to have full driving privileges. You need a G license. CPR first aid at the time of employment. OACP certificate. Successfully pass the hearing standards outlined by the OACP. 20/40 uncorrected vision with normal color acuity, which means you can't be colorblind. You have to be able to recognize colors properly. And pass a security clearance, be physically ready and able to achieve stage 7 in the shuttle run and pass the prep test. You also have to acknowledge you're going to be working outside in crappy weather and shift work, which is not for everybody. There's a lot to consider when becoming a police officer. And some people became special constables because they don't want to work all hours of the day and night. It's a thing. Not every job is for every person. But definitely, if you are interested, talk to a recruiter, get more information, and go from there. That is the way to play. All right. Scrolling back, because I want to find out where I left off, not to leave anybody behind and being ignored. And, question from the cowboy. We'll come back to that in a second. I'm just looking here. Oh, Niha had to go. Right on. N54 Mikey says, thanks for answering my question. Have a wonderful day. You're very welcome, and come back anytime. Just a follow-up question to Tom Flint, who asked about 30-kilometer-an-hour speed limits, and he wants to know, do I believe that a 30-kilometer-an-hour limit makes any difference in safety to a 40-kilometer-an-hour speed limit, lower than any other country? Yes, actually, the slower you go, the safer you are. And if you hit a pedestrian at 30, you do less damage than when you hit them at 40. And it makes a difference, or we wouldn't have done it. So yes, maybe we're the best country in the world. We have some of the slowest speed limits. Speed is not important. Getting to where you're going safely without hurting anyone, including yourself, that's what's important. So I absolutely support going 30 kilometers an hour in some areas. Not every area. The highway would be pretty silly if it was 30. Mind you, it kind of feels like 30 during rush hour. Let's see here. And Robbie Bobby 7 says, kids that play at school property even on weekends, and you're absolutely right. Thank you for bringing that up. I obviously didn't, but I usually do. It is true. People in those communities rely on the fact that it's safe. Kids go there and play at their schools on weekends. When I was a kid, we did it unsupervised without the helicopter parents. But you know what? Parents and kids, they get into the routine of expecting a certain speed in a certain neighborhood, and it should be all the time. And here's the deal. Speed limits aren't negotiable. You should be eligible for a ticket for 1 over. I mean, it is illegal. We don't ticket people for 1 over, but maybe if we did, people would actually slow down. When will lane splitting be legal for motorcycles? Probably never. It's not illegal by specific definition. There's no charge for it, but careless driving, stunt driving, dangerous criminal driving. Have you seen how some motorcycles ride? Now, this is not to say that we have a problem with someone who, wedges their way through traffic, on their tippy toes to get through traffic so their bumper, or so they don't act as the bumper for the vehicle in front in the event that somebody, doesn't stop. I get the idea of lane filtering just to get to the front a little bit or a little bit ways up. But lane splitting, we just drive through traffic, not safe. And have you seen how other people drive? Not safe, not smart. And we do see quite a number of people on motorcycles getting injured and injuring other people. Right. What's the Ontario law on underglow? Can you drive with it on a solid color? There is no Ontario law for this particular thing. Underglow isn't covered by a specific law. There are other laws that cover it, like headlights and taillights and color restrictions. If you are projecting your light forward or back or outwards in any way, you're breaking the law. If you are putting a light out to the front, anything other than white or yellow, you're breaking the law. If you're putting light to the back that's anything other than red or amber, you're breaking the law. Those things should be used on private property at a car show where you're, setting it up to look cool. It's not meant for the road. And if it's flashing in red, blue, green, all these colors are restricted. Solid or not, projecting red in just so many bad things happen. But if you tuck the lights way high in the undercarriage and you're only faintly illuminating the ground below you, it's probably not an issue. But really, why take the chance? Because you can still get charged even if you win in court, and that's just a hassle. What is this? Richard says, what should a school bus do when approaching to go straight through a green light with railway crossing immediately past? Well, you have rules in Ontario about stopping for railway crossings, so you got to follow all the rules. Let's see here. Blue. What do we got here? How many people? We talked about this already. School bus railway procedures for intersections. Okay, moving on. Nowadays, tint or no tint, good luck with male women identify. Oh, that's a different discussion. We have to be able to see the person inside. Even if you're wearing a hoodie, person with hoodie is a description. We have to be able to see inside. We have to see if you're wearing a seatbelt. We have to see if you're using your phone. If you're blocking all light or too much light, you can't do it. Why Toronto police don't stop anyone at night for high beam, even City of Toronto traffic on high beam. We stop all sorts of people for it. Maybe not in front of you in the very moment that you see it, but we can't be everywhere all the time. We certainly write tickets for that. Why do people accelerate through yellow lights? Is that illegal? Yes, it's illegal. You should stop for a yellow light. We talked about that. Boom, boom, boom. Awesome movie, Cam. From the movie Starman, green means go, yellow means go fast, red means go faster. Not my words. No, and I'm familiar with the movie. One of the good ones. Okay, Let's see here. We talked about McCoy's question. McCoy, what do we have here? Oh, these questions are back from 10:30. We're 20 minutes behind, which is probably pretty normal. Tim Shallow says, good morning. Fun fact, Edmonton, so many cars break down that if they sit too long, they chalk mark the tires. Interesting. That's parking at that point. All right. Habisha is at Toronto, Dixon Road area. We got Linda in Brampton. We have Kai Wilk at Kai 7 Wilk in Oakville. Blue Water Baby in Sarnia. I got friends in Sarnia. What's going on, Sarnia? Northern Pike, 2 of us fishermen here. Okay. We talked about the 30-minute thing. Okay, scrolling. Gotta go from, Neha says, gotta go. Okie, gotta go. Love the lives. And we love having you here, Neha. We'll see you soon. Neha's working in the security. How's the hand, by the way? I don't know. You probably left already, but she hurt herself. Now, Cowboy says, can I drive when having high blood sugar even when I don't notice a difference in myself? So medically, are you capable of safely operating your motor vehicle with high blood sugar? I don't know. If your blood sugar is so high that you are incapable of safely driving and you're impaired, not by drugs or alcohol, but through a medical event, could that be a problem? Could it result in a collision? Could you be held responsible? Possibly, maybe. You need to be aware of yourself. You need to manage your blood sugar and your health, and that's a real thing. I have friends that keep sugar with them and check their blood on a regular basis and take the appropriate medication when their blood sugar is high. It's a balancing act, I know. Dan Van Verberg says, I converted an old camper into a utility trailer. Should I change the ownership and how? You got to get it set up and get it registered as a trailer if it is now a trailer. Yeah, so I don't know how that works, unfortunately, but talk to the ministry. They would be the experts in that. Maybe talk to a mechanic, but I don't have good advice for you because I've never been involved with such a thing. Whole bunch of new questions came in, and I got to scroll back to where I was. Stand by. Oh, wow. Lots and lots. Okay. Can I put a jump seat with seat belts in the bed of a UTV and drive on the trails? On the trails? That's a good question. I don't have an answer for you. On the road, absolutely not. But on private property or on trails, I don't know. I'm not an off-road person, so I'm the wrong person to ask. But Sergeant Campbell, who is not here and often is here, it's a good question for him. So I'm going to make a note, Jordan Ranger. And Jordan, if you don't mind, go to ASKaTrafficCop.ca and go to the Ask Me a Questions submission form. Submit the question. I'm going to make a note, but I want to be able to get a hold of you to give you the answer, just in case. Put a jump seat. UTV trails. But please send it to me because I'm going to go ask him if he's even back yet. He's on the road today. And I want to get you an answer. Can I eat a burger with one hand while drive, or is it not allowed? In Ontario, it's allowed. In Alberta, you might get a ticket for distracted driving. They have different laws, so it depends on where you are. Here, as long as you're not negatively impacting your ability to safely operate your motor vehicle, you're good to go. If you're all over the road because that burger is good, it's a problem. And you could get careless driving. Can a judge increase a speeding ticket that was reduced by an officer at the scene? Yes. They can. The prosecution could ask to have it reverted to its original. I've asked the prosecutor to revert it to its original. If I give you a break roadside, it's because I'm hoping you're going to not waste the court's time and just pay your ticket because you realize you got caught and you were wrong. So if you're showing remorse, I might give you a reduction roadside so you can get a lesser offense, maybe have no points. If you show up in court, I will ask every time for your ticket to be raised back to the regular speed for which you were originally caught. Why? Because you're taking advantage. You got a deal, and now you're asking for a better deal. Well, I don't play like that. So in truth, I stopped giving reductions. 99% of the time, no reductions from me. And I hope that other officers do the same. Because if you want to get a deal, now you get to go and get what I would have given you roadside from the prosecution. Yeah. What are the consequences for driving without a license for the second time? Well, they can increase the penalties as a range. So instead of the ticket price of $300, they could, I think, go up to a range of $500. Let's have a look. Because I'm curious now. Something I've never really looked up. Dry vehicle, no license, $325. And it's 32 sub 1. I'm loading the full Highway Traffic Act onto my phone. 32 sub 1. Come on. It's a lot of data. 32 sub 1. Now, the question is, can I find driver's license, consequences? Come on. This is the wonderful legalese of the Act. If I can't find it in 3, 2, it's just so much to read. It can go up to $1,000. The range is $200 to $1,000. So, yeah, they could, if you got a second conviction, they could say, this is aggravating. We've dealt with this person already. They're choosing to ignore the rules. Once you can say is, oops, second time it's willful. So we're going to increase the fines. We can go up to the maximum. They could do whatever they want. What do we got here? Devin Ross keeps asking the same question because Devin Ross is the one on screen. Yeah, this is not an incident response thing. Please don't spam. And people are saying, Devin Ross, stop. Yeah, please don't spam. The only spam allowed here is in a can, and that's courtesy of Akila Draconis, who wanted us to have a prop when we talk about spamming the chat. How serious are hit and runs? They're serious, obviously. Now, you have to understand what a hit and run is. That's a fail to remain. You have at very least the obligation to make sure everybody's okay before moving on. Not every collision is a collision. Not every contact is a collision, but you do have to make sure everybody's okay. And if you're truly in a collision, then you have to exchange information. At least that's the right of everyone involved. And if someone refuses to exchange information, well, they're in violation. Okay. Hey, if I rent a car and speed in it, what happens? You get a speeding ticket if you're caught, and you don't if you don't get caught. If you get a stunt driving charge, we seize the car, even if it's a rental, and we hold it in a pound for the 14 days, and you get to pay for rental and storage and towing, and you get a 30-day suspension on your license. No good. We're now finally got to the point where we had a a power failure, and everyone's like, oh my God. Power outage, yes. So you see this cowboy says, I broke it. Yes, the live is not live. Too funny. LJ says, oh no, the gremlins got the live. Okay. What we got here? Robbie Bobby says, the world is ending. All right. Scrolling past the issues of no audio to catch up to actual questions. Okay. There we go. Fixed. Let's go here. I love the dialogue. It's great. Okay. Is speeding in Toronto a 2-minute minor or a 5-minute major? I don't know what you're talking about. Major, minor. The deal is speeding, and it's illegal, and you get a ticket. Okay. What happened to the music? How many people? We talked about this. For the how many people can you have in a car with a G2? Go watch this on YouTube because we answered your question earlier on when you first asked it. Okay. I don't want to mute you, Devin, but everyone's told you to stop posting, so stop posting. You're spamming. Boom, boom, boom. We have... Oh, my goodness. I don't like to ban people, but you're working your way towards that. Let's see what's going on here. Chris, Manda, scrolling through. Lots of dialogue. Slezzy, or is it Slezzy? Is that the proper pronunciation of your account? I never applied for a police job before. Well, what are you waiting for? You can do it now. And then Slezzy says, interview. Don't know the context of that. If it was anyway. Driving is not an entitlement. It's a privilege you earn. And Christine, you are absolutely correct. Driving is a privilege. And if you cannot follow the law and the rules and keep people safe, you have no business being on the road. And I would be proud to be part of taking away the license of someone who shouldn't be on the road. Because with every license we take away, which every car we take off the road, which every ticket we issue, we are working to make the roads safer for everybody. My family uses the road. I want them to get to where they're going home and back again. And to see the kind of tragedy that I've seen on the road, it's heartbreaking, truly, to see the lives impacted. Moms not coming home, dads not coming home, brothers, sisters, cousins, it just friends. There's nobody who is not impacted. Anyone who's touched someone's life, when that life is ripped from the earth because someone wanted to get somewhere faster, have a joyride because they're more important than everybody else. No. If you are breaking the law, you are part of the problem. Oh, interesting question. Would Tim Horton be alive if the QEW had a 30 kilometer an hour speed limit? 30 kilometers an hour on the QEW would be interesting. But who knows? I can't believe that Devin Ross is now saying at 47 minutes, I mean, it's 15 minutes ago, but what's the consequence for driving without a license for the second time? This question you've posted now 40 times, no less. I'm guessing you, it's 15 minutes behind. Maybe they just didn't get the message that we saw it, that we answered it. And now we've moved on. They're asking now different questions. What about international driver's license? That's Mohammed asking that question. We'll come back to that. I'll see maybe there's some other context before I get to that. That's live now, and this is 15 minutes ago. Okay. But please don't. Oh, my goodness. Devin, stop with the spam. Okay. Robbie Bobby says, love your live. Great program. Thank you for doing it. Thank you for being here, and thank you for the thank you. We do it all for you. We do. This is a great way to get out and talk to people. If you don't already follow us, please do. And Robbie Bobby, I'm sure you do. But tell your friends. Bring people to the party. We do this Monday to Friday from 10 a.m. till usually 11. It's 11:04 an hour. We're still going to do it because we're going to catch up with some more questions. But if you've got questions, we're doing it every day because we care. We're talking to way more people than we've ever talked to, all because of this magical internet box thing. I can't say this. How do you say this? I can't figure out where the pause, where the start. Anyway, that user says, Devin, hang in there, buddy. All right. Can I shed some light on the Ontario Police College curriculum? It's a quick onboarding of everything from use of force to, the laws. Hey, guess who? Sergeant Campbell has showed up, and he's in uniform, and there's questions for you. I wrote them down, and I said people should message me because I got questions for the good sergeant, and then you appeared. So the question was regarding adding a jump seat on the back of a UTV and riding on the trails. Is that legal?
Adding an original, like having a two-up seat on a
UTV.
An ATV or a side-by-side?
UTV.
UTV is a side-by-side.
I'm guessing they're talking about that. So adding jump seats into, the trunk or the bed with belts, would that be legal on trails? And I have no idea.
So I can tell you definitely on the roadway it is not. You're allowed to carry two passengers or more if it is the original manufacturer's design. To do it, and you're following all the other rules. I honestly don't, and I haven't looked into it, but I honestly don't believe it is lawful. I have an ATV that has a additional jump seat on the back. It's on the box, but where the person sits is behind or right on top of the rear axle, which makes it very, very dangerous and easy to roll over when there's two people.
And no cage there?
No cage. This is an ATV that I have. So I don't actually believe they are lawful on the trails. But you know what? I could do a very quick look. Or if you have the username of somebody, maybe
I suggested that Jordan reach out to us through the TrafficCop.ca link and send us a message, and we'll follow it up.
Well, you know what, Jordan? Please do that, and I will do what I can to find out and let you know. I know that I do not take passengers on that ATV, especially on the roadway, because of that.
And that's ATV, but we're talking UTV.
Right. So
I
UTV
definitely
is
don't
a
know.
side-by-side, and they come with 2 or 4 seats, depending on the design.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they make an additional aftermarket jump seat for the back of it. Are you thinking about sitting in the box in the back?
Well, he was saying adding jump seats with the belt. So there must be something, whether it be built to themselves or make it commercially available. I don't know. But it's interesting discussion. Now, as a different conversation, because we don't have an answer there was a discussion of what is the general coverage of topics once you go to the OPC, to the Ontario Police College. And I basically said it's kind of a quick onboarding of everything, a little sample platter of everything. Because you're not a pro at this point. You're getting onboarded to the basics of use of force and firearms and defensive tactics and all the laws when it comes to criminal code and bylaws, and not bylaws, but
Provincial
offenses. Thank you. So it's a little bit of everything, and eggs.
And eggs?
There's a lot of eggs.
Well, there is a lot of eggs. The food at Elmer, I hear, got better, but it is the basics. But it teaches you how to look up stuff when you're out there by yourself. If you look at something and you go, that doesn't look right, there's probably a law against it somewhere or something that talks about it. And you need to know where to look, how to look up certain things, what act and which regulation you're going to look into, or which law, which criminal, federal law, provincial law, whatever you're going to look. And it teaches you the basics of how to navigate through that, which is what you need to start off. Now, services have their own special training before or after. Ours is quite long afterwards because we do an awful lot of urban policing. And we have challenges in Toronto that maybe some suburban or rural communities would not face. That also being said, we learn about the Fish and Game Act in Elmer, but we probably wouldn't use it very much, where maybe our OPP friends or something like that would use it an awful lot more, so they get more training on those specific.
It's a custom, stuff based on what they need to know. And then after you're on the road, you are getting more training, which is the real training, I think. You got a coach officer, you're on the job training, you got the basics, and now you're out there in the real world doing it.
Right. There's the book smarts part of it, and then there's the street smarts part of it, and you got to have both. And you know what? Sometimes you can learn it, and sometimes people can't. And
the job's not for everybody.
It truly isn't. So, but you certainly are given a fighting chance to make it, for sure. We want you to succeed. Everybody wants you to succeed.
There is that. The goal is to hire good people, to get them ready, and we obviously saw something in you if we hired you, and the goal is to get you so you can actually be helpful and do
productive and
serve the people. I got a whole bunch of stuff.
And if they still have what's called cheese dreams at Elmer.
Cheese dreams?
Cheese dreams, yes.
I've not heard this.
It was an English muffin with some fake melted cheese on top and some tomato. It really
sounds horrible.
Wasn't good at all, but that's what I lived on for 13 weeks.
Cheese dreams.
Cheese dreams.
Mohammed, I mentioned this earlier. I'm still scrolling through to pick out some questions in there, but can you talk about international driver's license?
No such thing.
Well, there is a card that says international driver's license or international driver's permit.
That's it.
But it doesn't have any authority to let you drive. It is a translation card that accompanies your foreign license from your home country, your home province or state or issuing body. And together, that allows us, the police locally here, to look at your card that may not have even English letters. It may not be Roman, maybe Cyrillic, may not be able to make it out. But in conjunction with that translation card, together it may be accepted. But it does not give you any authority beyond that.
No, you must have your original driver's license from your issuing country. You must not have a license for the country that you're going to visit, because you would drive under the authority of that license. I've had many people come and provide me an international driver's permit. and then I look into them and find out that they do have actually an Ontario driver's license, but the country that they came from doesn't have a reciprocal agreement, so they had to start a G1, and they thought, I found a way around it. You know what? Not only is there one charge for that one, there's 2 charges for that one, and you're going to be delayed on your Ontario one again because you're going to have to start over because you've committed offenses against it.
And
so.
Jordan, I just got your email, so we'll get back to you, Jordan. Jordan submitted the question.
Yep. Jordan, if you can identify what you mean by UTV, or if you're talking a side-by-side, if you're talking a farm utility vehicle, or you're talking an ATV where you straddle it, makes a difference.
Oh, this is so interesting. So this one is a comment that I'll throw into the mix while I'm flagging other things, but how is driving a privilege? I mean, well, it's certainly not a right. Nobody has the right. You have to pass a test, and only based on your ability to pass that test do you get the license at the beginning. And then we take your license away if you break the rules that you agreed to follow when you took your license.
So it's not your roads. It's not your land.
Right.
The government creates them. The government found out that if we don't create rules and make it a privilege, then people will do stupid things and kill people. So that's what makes it a privilege. The infrastructure that we all collectively pay for is administered by the government to build bridges and roadways and take over right-of-ways and stuff like that. So that's kind of why it's a privilege.
It's absolutely a privilege, and we'll take it away from you, and you don't deserve to have it if you can't be responsible.
The government.
The ministry takes it. Well, we work to note. We see, we're not the people who do anything other than make notes about the dumb stuff that people do behind the wheel, putting lives at risk, and we make those notes and we submit those things to the courts. The courts determine guilt or no guilt, and then the ministry determines whether or not you get to keep your license. They track all that stuff.
Right. And when we seize your driver's license because it's under suspension or you're prohibited or something like that, it's because, not that we did it, but we have information that the ministry wants it done or the courts want it done. So we are the agents of the agency that has the governing body over it. So we do our job, what we're told. We don't make up the rules.
This is true.
We just abide by the rules.
Now, if I came from Alberta with a radar detector and forgot to leave it, will I be forgiven?
No.
So here's the thing. If it's in your trunk and you're driving normally and you're not stopped, we're probably never going to know. But if you used it or we detect it or if it comes to be known, you're going to lose it. You're going to get charged. There is no exemption. The only way you can transport a radar detector or device for that purpose in the province of Ontario is if it was manufactured here and is being shipped out of province by a carrier to the consignee. Is that the proper terminology?
The wording, and it has to be in its original seal unbroken container. Mm-hmm. So it has to be sealed.
Brand new. So no.
And the Highway Traffic Act, I think, gives probably the most power to police or inspection agents to take apart your car or search you for something as simple as a radar detector. And when we search your car, we take it apart because some of them are built in and we don't put it back together. But the Highway Traffic Act gives us extreme authority where even if we had drugs on board, like if you had drugs in your car hidden, we'd need a search warrant. We'd need a whole bunch of legal documents and stuff like that to get in your car to seize your drugs. But just a mere suspicion for your radar detector, it's a free-for-all. We don't abuse it that way, but the authority is there.
Yes. Is 62 too old to be a police officer? There's no limit. We're not forced to retire. If you can meet all our qualifications at 62, it's possible you could be hired.
Yeah.
It used to say...
We have older officers working right now.
And it used to be on the application 18 to 65. But now that 65 is removed, we don't discriminate. So if you can meet all the requirements, you may be able to be hired. I haven't seen it done at 52. I've seen. So what's 10 years between friends? Let's see here. Harleys are much. Oh, this is, I think, a secondary comment. I saw another question about exhaust. I think someone just got a ticket for their car, but the question is, well, Harleys are so much louder. Harleys get tickets too. There's no exemption. If you're making too much noise, if your exhaust system is set up to be noisier than it should be, you're eligible for a ticket. And I can tell you, and as a Harley rider and you're a Harley owner, they don't come from factory loud. They aren't actually quite.
They don't
subtle in their. It's not a big deal even when you rev it up. Like people are annoyed at how not loud they are because they want that movie sound that you hear. Well, that's aftermarket pipes, and almost all new Harleys have pipes applied after you've purchased it, by request of the owner, after it's certified and plated in your name, bolt-ons, cans go after.
I've seen several memes out there for the most useless job in the world, and it's the guy that puts factory mufflers on Harleys.
Because they should ship without them.
Because people just take them off. Now, that being said, when I bought mine, I didn't buy it new. It came with aftermarket pipes, and they were too loud. They were absolutely too loud. So I bought a set of factory pipes.
And put them on. That's awesome.
And,
or baffle them, yeah.
And you know what? They were cheap because nobody wants them. But
yes.
But you know what?
It's the one thing that everybody buys, puts on a shelf in the garage, and then never touches again. So they store them from all time. And yeah, you're right. They're available cheap. What is this? Are you taking donations to help with your hydro bill? We had a power failure during the live. Everything went black.
I think somebody was just running around trying to figure out the...
What does this switch do?
I think that was because my computer went off, and then the lights went off, then the lights in somewhere else went off. So I think, maybe the cleaners were trying to figure out a circuit.
It was something interesting. Okay, why are planes allowed to speed way more dangerous? Actually, there's speed limits. So, funny story. I got onto a plane. I was going to Disney with the family, and so I went up to the pilot, spoke to the lead steward or whomever was on the plane. I said, "Hey, listen, I'm a police officer. I social media. Do you think the pilot would let me shoot a video with him in the cockpit?" And they said, "Sure." And I went up to the cockpit. I said, "Listen, I'm a police officer for Toronto Police. I have some concerns I want to bring up with you. I want to ensure that there'll be no speeding on this flight to Florida." So we had a good laugh. It's on the channel. But he actually said afterwards, he said, we actually have very strict guidelines as to how fast we can go. I had no idea.
No, I didn't either.
Stuff I know that I didn't ever think I'd need to know. Okay.
You know what? Too bad they don't have the Concorde.
It's very small. I think it still exists on ground now. But I always wanted. I had a little model Concorde and a little nose.
I would have loved to.
And did you know? So I just recently found this out.
Squirrel.
I used to think that the whole cockpit went down. It's not.
No,
it was just a
nose.
cone. It was just because to reach those speeds, it had to be able to be more aerodynamic, and they lowered it so they could see because they couldn't see anything with that nose.
Yeah,
up.
when they were landing and taking off.
Yeah, fascinating. But I would have loved to have been able to take a flight. And there were some before they retired it, a couple of just back and forth trips,
just for
VVIPs, but very small inside. It had a very low seat count, so very expensive to operate. But Aussie,
not too fuel efficient either, from what I understand.
They probably were all smoking all the way the whole trip. Nothing was. It's a different world. Let's see here. We talked about. Actually, here's a question for you. I addressed it, but Cowboy Ka, who I'm assuming is CA. He's the question that said hello, and then the power went out. So be careful when answering and talking about his stuff. But I didn't have a perfect answer other than you need to monitor yourself, and it could lead to a situation where you cause a collision because of your blood sugar being out of whack.
So your blood sugar is your responsibility, and if you were to have an issue with your blood sugar, your license would be suspended by a medical doctor, or by somebody like me who's also diabetic who knows the issues, high or low. So have you ever noticed a change in your behavior and your attitudes with your patients when your blood sugar is high? That turns into things that could lead to road rage and things like that. Your eyesight, when your blood sugar is extremely high, will be impaired. And you're not thinking properly, and you're probably having to go to the bathroom an awful lot when your blood sugar is high. So, no, get your blood sugar in check before you're out there driving. Low blood sugar is where you know that it can be really, really bad really, really quickly. So when your blood sugar goes low, you get confused, you start sweating, you start shaking, you make poor decisions, your reaction times are very, very slow. And there is case law now where people have been charged criminally for causing crashes and causing death.
Because they're ignoring
Because their blood sugar, they were aware of it. And
there's different ways to monitor your blood. Pricking your finger is one way to do it, and you have to do it manually on a regular basis. But I know a number of people who wear monitors that actually go to their phone, and I think that's just an ongoing thing.
Yep, absolutely. I wear a sensor all the time, and I have to because I'm here. I got a job to do. I got to remain here with everybody all the time.
Does it give you an alert if you're high or low?
It does.
See, that kind of technology is amazing. Here's a question that's completely nothing to do with what we were talking about. If I'm a secondary driver, do I still have to provide proof of ownership? So if you are a driver, If you are behind the wheel, you are a driver. You are not the secondary driver. You're the driver. And when you're pulled over, you are required to surrender your license, ownership, and insurance upon demand of a police officer.
You may be listed as a secondary driver for your insurance purposes only.
Right.
But you as a driver have certain obligations. And like Sean said, if you don't have them, you'll be charged for it.
And it's a $110 fine. So here's the deal. Whether you borrow a car, you're working as a driver in a company car, before you put it in gear, before you take it out, make sure that you've been provided or told where it is. Because I can't tell you how many times I pulled someone over and it's like, well, it's my dad's car and I don't know where he put it. And I check the glove box. Glove box? Oh, we could check the glove box. And this whole search. Well, my patience does not last the entire day. If I give you 5 minutes to figure it out and you can't find it, you're getting a ticket. And there's no undo button. You're going to go to court. You're going to show it to them. They may or may not choose to get rid of it.
Same thing goes for a rental car. A lot of people just think their rental agreement, which is just a civil contract between a company and you, suffices for all this. Every rental car will have a copy of the ownership in the car.
Photocopy?
They should.
Photocopy?
They should.
Yes.
They should. Not
Check.
all do. When you get in a rental car, check, make sure.
'Cause-
you need a copy of their insurance, even though yours covering the rental agreement contract portion of it. The vehicle has to be liability insured, and they have to have the copy of the ownership in there. And it can be a photocopy. In fact, it's recommended to be a photocopy.
For sure. Question about naval police. They have navals. Do Navy police have the same authority off a base? Well, let's say military police. Military police, I don't know if they have naval police and army. They're military police. They have authority off base in relation to their members.
In relation to their members or their property?
And by both.
Or national security things where they're doing an investigation. So are they police officers? Yes. Are they not authorized? Are they regulated and given the authority from a different act than we are? Absolutely. And their authority may range even outside of Ontario, outside of Canada.
Yes.
So,
with deployed people overseas, yeah, absolutely.
can they pull you over? Depending on where you are. There are police officers that can enforce criminal code. If you're impaired and they're behind you, guess what?
And if there's any issues, I mean, they certainly have a right to do certain things. You have to comply. You're being pulled over. You got license sirens. You can't just say, I think the logo says something other than what you pull over, and they may be phoning a friend. They might be phoning a local officer. Guess what? Even if we wanted to say that they were utilizing other authorities because it's a criminal offense that is indictable, I mean, everybody in Canada has certain rights to arrest. They are police officers. I'm clouding the discussion.
Yep.
Cowboy.
Same thing goes for railway police. Same thing goes for what am I thinking of? Not the security, but at
Railway. You said already.
No, I'm thinking at in Ottawa. The Prime Minister hangs out.
Yes. The
Parliament.
Yeah,
parliamentary police. Yeah.
All sorts of authorities. Cowboy CA says, thank you for answering my questions. You're awesome.
Are you talking to him or me?
I may have kept it before you got here, but it still counts. Does fog affect radar? So radar, like speed measurement, you know what fog really affects? The ability to see. Anybody who's speeding in fog is incredibly. Well, I'm not going to say it, but yeah.
You know what?
I meant.
Thought, yeah.
Yeah.
Radar. I'm not sure. Laser.
Well, because water droplets in the atmosphere can change the effective distance where it's functional, but it doesn't completely make it ineffective.
And laser radar,
LiDAR,
which is LiDAR, laser is actually a light, and if that light is broken up to a sufficient amount, it may not get a proper reading back.
Right.
May not get any reading back, not an improper one.
And there is a mode for certain situations that changes the way that it operates, but certainly for us to get a proper reading, it has to be certain conditions, and we wouldn't be doing. In a foggy night, I would not be trying to do speed measurement. I wouldn't want to be anywhere near the darkness and not knowing of what's about to emerge from the fog. Yeah. There's sometimes we're not doing enforcement for our own safety.
But can it? Sure. And if we're using moving radar and we're passing by you and you're speeding in the fog, guess what? We are definitely coming back for you because you're making it not only you're speeding, but you're speeding in the fog.
Yeah. In fact,
extra dangerous.
Doing the speed limit in fog may be careless driving. Like just
be
doing the
dangerous.
speed limit could be dangerous. Yeah. So we might pull you over for doing the speed limit. You need to drive for the road conditions that you're witnessing. If you're seeing, you can never drive beyond your headlights, your vision. So if you're driving and you're getting shocked by everything that you're coming to, that's an indicator you should slow down. And maybe that's when 30K on the DVP is a good speed. Yeah. OG47X says, I got a driving on a closed highway ticket in New Brunswick. How will it affect my Ontario record? Well, oddly, we do talk to other provinces.
We do. Yes. I think every single province has reciprocal agreements for offenses out of province. We can see your out of province offenses depending on what it is. If it's a bylaw ticket that you got in New Brunswick, because
Some highways, maybe.
yep, some highways maybe. A lot of highways in New Brunswick are not official highways. They're logging roads and they're back roads. They can close that and create a bylaw to do that. So,
But ultimately, if you get a ticket, if you get a ticket and you're convicted, likely we can see it.
yep, and
points
so
could
can
be-
your insurance.
Is it illegal to have my license plate in my rear windshield?
Yes,
So,
100%.
yeah, rear windshield, front windshield. It's very specific as to where it must be mounted to comply with the regulations. Front of a license plate must be in the front of your vehicle in a conspicuous place. That's the front grille, the front bumper. Tow hook adapter is acceptable because the left and right doesn't matter, but it has to be easy to see in the appropriate place, not halfway through
In
behind
the
the windshield.
front of your vehicle.
Yeah, the front is not halfway through in the front windshield.
Right.
It's the front of the vehicle. And for the rear, not only does it have to be mounted in a conspicuous place, it must be illuminated by a 3 candela light source. So there's very specific guidelines, and inside the rear window doesn't count. But I think it's an interesting question. Most people ask the front windshield. I don't think anyone's ever asked for the rear windshield before.
So you're talking about lights, and you're talking about lighting a license plate. I actually, I have a new truck. I leased a new truck. First time in a long, long time. I love it. It has LED lights everywhere. It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Except for the license plate lights.
It's an incandescent bulb?
It's an incandescent bulb.
No.
And I was shocked at it. So I did some research. Apparently, that's the only one that will actually comply with multiple jurisdictions
Get out.
to illuminate the rear plate.
That's news. That is actually very interesting.
I would imagine that an LED is probably too powerful.
Maybe.
Or doesn't spread enough, or doesn't cover, illuminate the
because
entire plate.
the shape of the beam is different. Yeah, it's
I
very
don't know.
interesting.
I was shocked.
Now that you bring that up, so many people convert all of their lights to LED, even aftermarket. That might become a legal issue if you do that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
I don't know how to read this username. A lot of these repeat offenders got money, so a fine is a slap on the wrist. That's it. That's a personal choice. If people choose to continue to break the law, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's breaking the law on a subscription system." My tinted windows, subscription system. Depending on the law, we can escalate. Well, actually, any of these we can escalate to a summons, which is no longer slap on the wrist and pay your fine and keep moving on. It's go to court and explain to the judge or JP why you don't understand how to follow basic laws.
And it doesn't happen here or anywhere that I know of in Canada anyways, but there are some countries and jurisdictions that the fine is assessed on your salary.
Yes.
So where a simple ticket for one person may be one amount, but for somebody who has an awful lot of money, it may be another amount.
There was a speeding ticket.
It's
There was
supposed to be a deterrence.
Yeah. There's a speeding ticket. It was like $150,000 ticket for an executive in I don't remember where it was, but it was look it up. It's wild. And
What a great idea.
I think so, absolutely. But does that mean that someone who has low income can break the law more because now it's cheap?
Well, no, because a small ticket means an awful lot to somebody that doesn't have an awful lot of money.
There's some people who declare not a lot of money.
Easy for you to say.
Yeah, not at all. Sarah wants to know, can I refuse to talk to a police officer when he pulls me over if I say I want my lawyer present?
Depends.
Well, so here's the thing. If I pull you over for speeding and you say, I'm not talking to you until my lawyer gets here, that's not reasonable. You have to comply with identification. There's requirements as the driver of a motor vehicle in the province of Ontario that you must comply with.
No, if I ask you, why are you speeding? Why are you in such a hurry?
I'm not
Do
going to tell you
say
that.
it? Okay. All right. There you go, ma'am. Here's your ticket.
And at that point, you're free to go and you can go talk to your lawyer all you want. But the deal is you can't delay the entire process. And when it comes to impairment, if I'm going to arrest you, whether you're complying with me or not, it's not a discussion. We're going to get you to legal counsel at some point. We're going to put you, but you're not going to interfere with an investigation, stalling it just because you want to play games like that. And that's a game.
Oh, it is. It always is.
Yeah, and absolutely, you're going to get a chance to talk to legal counsel. We're going to get you everything that you're entitled to, but you're not going to be able to mess with the system of us determining your blood alcohol content and laying charges as appropriate.
And the reason the laws were recently changed for that, for bolus drinking and for presumptive amounts, is because people tried that and they went, "Hey, we have to change that because we're here to protect society, and we're not going to let these criminals." Find the loophole.
Rules get created based on the behaviors of few and the exploitation of loopholes. And that we find those loopholes. They work once and they don't work again.
Every single law, every single rule, every single regulation is created because somebody did it.
Yes. Does TPS have jurisdiction to give a ticket on a provincial highway? And the answer is
Anywhere.
Yeah,
24/7, working or not.
We are police officers 24/7. We're sworn for the entire province of Ontario, and yes, and
have I?
Yes.
Absolutely. Section 29 of the Provincial Offences Act actually lets us use our own tickets in neighboring jurisdictions to do it. And if it is not, I can still pull you over, call a friend.
I love friends. It's good to have
somebody else
friends.
who's working who may bring a ticket book from that jurisdiction.
Funny how that works.
The jurisdiction part of it only signifies what courthouse it's going to go to. It doesn't change anything else.
And worst case scenario, they'll write the ticket, and I will show up as a witness to give my fantastic and coordinated evidence. I say coordinated based on my skills and abilities and observations.
And do you have the authority to pull them over? Absolutely. Whether you call a friend or not, you can still do it.
Yes. I'm a dog photographer and would love to photograph an officer and canine unit. Who can I contact? I believe they have a page on the website, and they probably have an email address. But you know what? You could certainly contact corporate communications or contact headquarters. Or if you know what, you could even send me an email with your information. I can forward an email off internally to the canine unit and try and get them in touch with you. I can't guarantee that they will, but I can certainly make efforts to connect you with the appropriate people. ASKaTrafficCop.ca, there's a button there for send me a message. And we talked about this already. What constitutes a car rally from a bunch of friends hanging out? Now, this is stemming from York Regional Police making all sorts of headlines talking about the fact that they ain't going to take it and no more. And they are now going to heavily enforce. And they really, we always have enforced major events where it is not a car hangout having coffee, but a event where people are doing burnouts and driving in a stunt manner or a dangerous driving manner, which is criminal. They're breaking the law. And I think that's the biggest difference. When you talk about car rally from the perspective of police enforcement, it's breaking the law.
And it could start off with such simple things as trespassing. You're on somebody's parking lot, and they don't want you there for that purpose. They don't want you there to do burnouts. They don't want you there to gather. They don't want. It depends what you're doing. We talked about this yesterday, the day before, that I was a member of a classic car club. I had a very
I think it was yesterday.
An old Mustang, and we used to go to shows, and we used to line them up. We were allowed to be there, and we hung out with like-minded people. And until somebody does something stupid as they're driving away, does it now become something that it shouldn't be? And even the organizers of the lawful, proper car shows don't want that to happen.
Sure, because they want to keep doing what they're doing. And a few bad apples ruin the bunch. People come out and do stupid things, and mob mentality, other people jump in going, woo, and stupid things happen. Yep. With Ontario...
Sorry, what do they do?
The woohoo? With Ontario losing the GED testing, will all non-high school graduates be allowed to apply? Well, I'm not aware of this.
Losing the GED testing?
I'm not aware of this. Now, I can tell you that, I can't tell you anything. I don't know about this. You need a grade 12 education to apply to be a police officer in the province of Ontario. Something I didn't mention earlier when we talked about employment is there is currently an absorption by the Ontario government of the fees to go to the Ontario Police College, which are effectively a $15,000 signing bonus. That's what officers who were hired last year or the year before had to pay out of pocket or get a loan to pay back. You would be getting for free. But I'm not aware of this GED testing. Grade 12 is the minimum requirement. And of course, there's academic testing. Even if they said anyone can join, you still have to be able to write, read, and do math. And if you can't pass the qualifications for it, you don't get to go to the next stage.
Right.
So
That's during the hiring process.
Yeah, and there's university graduates who can't do grade 7 math and don't get through. So it's a thing.
But we got through.
Yeah, well, we're magical.
Yeah, well, we're
Something.
something.
If we can, yes. I don't even know where to go there. Okay, so I got a ticket for loud exhaust. The officer never did a decibel reading. Can I fight it? So, depends on what the charge is.
I was going to say,
D?
there's a charge for the decibel. There's a charge for unnecessary.
If you were charged under the City of Toronto bylaw, there is a decibel reading required. It's 92 decibels at idle or 96 decibels at anything above idle, and the ticket's $500. For that ticket to be laid, they need a decibel meter, and it's actually not going to be a Toronto police officer who writes that ticket. It's going to be a bylaw officer.
But it could be. We can write those tickets.
We could,
Yep.
but generally speaking, I don't think we do. Then there's unnecessary noise tickets, which is you're making too much noise, turn it down. No, you're getting a ticket. In fact, we don't have to ask you to turn it down. We can just give you the ticket based on the fact that you made unnecessary noise. It could be your exhaust system, your stereo system,
horn.
or your horn. Anything unnecessary to the safe operation of your motor vehicle.
And loud exhaust, you'd be getting an improper muffled one as well.
Yes, or no muffler, depending on the situation. Or a bypass. There's a lot of charges that relate to this. You have to comply, and making noise is actually one of the largest complaint sources of the entire city of Toronto. Residents hate it, and it
Absolutely.
negatively impacts the community. I pay to live in my city and enjoy my house and work where I work, and you're rumbling through, and my plates are rattling on the walls because I'm envisioning my grandma's place with the plates on the walls, and babies are being woken up, and people's lives are being negatively impacted, and business calls are being interrupted. We work from home now. We have babies that are babied. They're just sleeping in the daytime. Like, there's no good time to make noise.
I got to tell you, I sat outside. Yesterday was a beautiful day. I sat outside on my front porch. I had to make a phone call to my insurance to get my new trailer insured. And I had my documents out there. I live beside a busy road. I live in a small subdivision, but beside a busy road. The amount of cars with excessive noise, the motorcycles that were screaming around yesterday because it was so loud, the muscle cars going, the little hot rod import cars zipping around.
The fart cans.
I actually had to go inside. It was too loud.
And
you know what? That bugged me. It really bugged me.
Sure.
And I have the ability to actually do something about it. So
Well, I live in a community that's fairly quiet most of the time, and I will hear that one car that is ripping up the main road, and it's a kilometer away, and it feels like it's right next to my bed. And I go to bed early because I get up early, and that makes it difficult for me to sleep. It then impacts my health. For the people who say, well, what's the big deal? That's the big deal. We're part of a community. We should all get along and treat people nicely. And it only sounds good for 5 seconds, and it's usually only if you own the car. Everybody else hates you. Speed limit is the same as the rest. Sorry, this is the answer, but the question that I meant to flag was, is the HOV lane the same speed limit as the rest of the lanes? And the answer is the speed limit is the speed limit for all lanes. You're not allowed to exceed that speed limit in any lane.
the purpose of the HOV lane is when traffic is bumper to bumper and moving slower than the normal speed, that this lane should be more open than the rest of them. And you have to be very careful with those lanes because your speed differential compared to everybody else is going to be such a big difference. That is why you can only change lanes
in certain areas. Now, just to bring this up, when you're done watching this magical live stream that you're on with us for, go to YouTube and search HOV or carpool lane crashes. And you will understand what we talk about when we say speed differential. Because if you're doing just the speed limit, 100 kilometers an hour, and everybody else is doing nothing, dead stop, if someone decides to pull in because they got lost patience and either they're choosing to break the law and they don't have enough people to qualify for use, or they say they do have the right number of people, but they're not waiting to the next, break in the lines, which those are the only lines you really can't cross, that collision would be 100 kilometer hour impact. And if you think about this, if you were both traveling at the same speed, you would have a minor impact, but now it's a major impact. There's tremendous damage and risk. You got to take that
twice, so I better.
Okay, it's a thing. So that's the story. Speed differential is where collisions become deadly. That's where speed really comes in. So really, we say, even when we're traveling beyond the speed of traffic as police officers responding at high speed, lights and sirens active or not, if we're allowed to speed, but we try and remain no more than 40 kilometers above the speed of anybody else because it's so dangerous. So if you're doing 0, 40 is the speed we'd want to be doing because we anticipate somebody pulling out into our path. It's sad, but it's true. All right. Preet says, really appreciate you both answering my question. Well, I'm really glad that we were able to help and that we got you in the show to be able to answer. And I said that we talked about. What is this? Do you need a car seat for a dog if you can have them sitting on your lap while driving? Okay. So, do you need a car seat for a dog if you can't have them sitting on your lap when driving? You can't have them sitting on your lap when driving. It's illegal. It's careless driving. It's drive while crowded. I would charge you for either or both. Don't do that. You will make Fluffy into a pancake, or worse, you'll turn their bones into projectiles and pierce your system, and then you two will become one on a genetic level, and that's not good. So don't do that. Put them in the back seat. Back seat is best for kids and dogs. I'm not saying dogs and kids are the same. I'm saying that it's the safest place for small persons or things or animals or whatnot. If you call your kids animals, that's up to you. But the deal is that back seat's best, tethered or crated for animals. Children must be in a car seat. Tethers and crates aren't good enough. So back seat is best, tethered or crated. Definitely not loose in the vehicle, and definitely not on your lap. Think about this, from a perspective of just trying to protect your dog. Never mind you and everything else. Okay, well, let's talk about the you and everybody else. You can't properly respond to the needs as a driver in an emergency situation, or just you're distracted. You're dealing with a dog that could be distracting you from focusing on your responsibilities as a driver. Okay, so that's one. We'll put them in a crate, or we'll put them in the back seat. We won't worry about tethering. Microphone, stay there. If they are loose, they become a projectile at the time of collision. They can either be injured, or they become loose when the window gets broken. They run out into traffic, they get hurt. That would be bad. Or they hurt somebody else, and then you're responsible, and they get hurt. Bad. Put them in a tether or a crate for their safety. Airbags. Think about the airbag deploying at 200 miles per hour from that steering wheel when Fluffy's at your chest. That's bye-bye Fluffy, or Spike, or whatever you call him. All right. Someone's asking about law and punishment about dog owners against dog attacks. Yeah, there's something on the news right now where somebody is being charged for a dog attack. Question about public trust. There's all sorts of media spin and anti-police people. Is it since 2020? I don't know. Unfortunately, I think people have it really wrong, and police are here to help. And I certainly believe in the police and the whole concept of public service. And a few bad apples shouldn't spoil a bunch, even though people like to focus on the stories of bad as opposed to focus on the gazillion of good things that we do every day. We don't get credit for the good stuff. We only get tarred with the bad news stuff that a few people are involved with. And if we don't have police, who protects us? And as a civilian, as a citizen, as someone who lives in a city who needs the police to respond just like everybody else, I know we need the police. But do people treat us poorly? Yeah. Some people buy the hype from the news. Okay. We talked about this. Let's get the dad jokes. What are we doing here? I need a dad joke headline, but I don't have one. So instead, we'll say this. What do you call a sick, bald eagle? Illegal. Illegal. Illegal, not illegal. Illegal. Took me a second. Quote, this is from Michaela. All that is gold does not glitter. Not all those who wander are lost. J.R.R. Tolkien. Tolkien? I don't know what's the proper pronunciation. Tolkien? Dad joke. Why do bees have sticky hair? Because they used a honeycomb? It's pretty good. I actually like that one, the honeycomb. It has been a slice. It is 11:45, an hour and 45 minutes. We did 2 hours yesterday. We're making up for, the start of the week when I wasn't here. In any case, I will be here tomorrow. And I will be here to, what are we going to talk about tomorrow? We're going to talk about stuff and things that matter to you, because this is a Q&A show. You ask the questions, we give the answers. And until then, if you are going to drive sober. If you're going to drive legally. Don't speed. Don't break laws. Don't hurt people. We want you to be safe. Tweetback says, have an awesome rest of your day. And I thank you for that. And to all those that were part of the show today by way of your questions. We appreciate you. What should we play? What Red Light Blues? What is this?
Cruising down the street, feeling so free. Didn't see the sign, didn't know what it means. Saw the lights flash and my heart started racing. Should've watched on Shapiro. I was misbehaving, didn't understand what I did wrong. Got caught in a mess. Now I'm singing this song, feeling so bad. It's a horrible feeling. If only I knew, I would have been more revealing. Red light blues, making me feel so low. Should've stopped when I had to go. Red blues, got me in a mess. Next time I'll be careful. Settle for less.
Cruising down the West Coast, feeling all fly, but little did I know I was about to get caught.
All right, I could let that playlist go for an hour, but let's not. This is just songs that I'm posting because they're cool to me and nobody else possibly. But have a great day, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow. Be safe and smile. You know what? It looks good on you.